everybody. It's Debbie Cowan here with Closing Connections, and I have my dear sweet friend Jeannine Plummer from Snook Realty.
Hi.
Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So yeah, we were kind of talking a little bit before, and we were both a little bit on the nervous and shy side, but I told her she's going to be perfect with this. So thanks again for coming in.
You were persistent enough asking that I finally couldn't say no.
Yeah, well, I finally got someone from your brokerage to show up. I feel like I have hit the jackpot.
We're all camera shy.
So, Jeannine, tell us a little bit about how your real estate career got going.
So I worked in physical therapy for like 14 years for Monroe's Outpatient Rehab at Lifetime.
Are you a licensed physical
PTA?
Therapist? You are? Oh my gosh.
And so I did that for a long time, and I absolutely loved it. But like the last couple years, I went like 2 years without a full 40-hour work week because we had to keep our productivity up. And so if a patient no-showed or canceled, we'd clock out, wait for the next one. So I'd still be there for 40 hours, but I wasn't getting a 40-hour paycheck.
Oh.
Then we got, like, there was some turnover and stuff had changed, and I was just like, So my good friend Crystal was my neighbor, and she was like, oh, you should get into real estate maybe. And I said, I don't know. My job is so rewarding. Like, it's more than just about the money for me. Like, she says, well, you realize that in real estate, you're helping people with one of the biggest decisions they'll ever make. I'm like, I never really thought about it that way. And I said, but I'm not a salesman. And she said, people don't like someone who's overly salesy. It's about relationships. And I'm like,
and I mean, Crystal's she would be the last person in the world I would think would be in real estate because she's just so soft-spoken and sweet and everything.
Yeah, but she's good at what she does. And she's been doing it for like 20 years or something. Yeah. So, honestly, she kind of made it look easier than it is. I always give her a hard time. I'm like, thanks for making it look easy and tricking me. And that first year was a little tough.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
What year did you get into it?
2018.
Okay.
And the first year, I had like 5 deals, but I basically broke even because I spent so much money that year on, marketing and all of that. And I kept trying to give up. Like, I'd tell my husband, maybe I should go find a clinic and do like PRN work or something. And he'd say, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Hang in there. And I'm like, I don't know. And then once it got going, and
well, you got to go through the COVID, right?
Yes.
So who would have thought? I've said that many times. Like, who would have thought we'd been so crazy during COVID?
When it first started, I applied for one of those business loans because I thought, here I go. I'm not going to be making any money now. Now I'm finally getting going, and now I'm not going to be making any money. And instead, it just got busier.
Same thing for me. I was like, okay, well, we're going to shut down for, a year, and it's just going to be very slow. And I couldn't catch my breath. It was just unimaginable that we would have probably the best years of our career during a pandemic.
Exactly. And I'm so grateful that I got started before that hit, because if I was trying to learn in the process of that, I think
a buyer's agent or a listing or both?
I'm both.
You are both.
So I probably do like almost half and half.
Wow,
which is fun.
Really good.
It just depends on the, but at any given time, probably about half of mine are listings and half are buyers. And I like both sides of it.
I was going to say, because I know we were talking a little bit about a deal that you just did with a first-time home buyer, and how you had to feel like you had to mother them throughout the process.
Yeah, it was fun.
And rewarding.
It is.
Those are the ones that absolutely stay in your brain, for life. You'll remember, because hopefully through the years, you'll see them go into, upstage on their property. They're going to, so that'll be cool.
Well, and that's the cool thing is, like, I think that's why I like it so much, is because of those relationships that you build with people like that. And I had 1 year where I had so many probate deals going. I felt like half of my stuff going on was because someone had passed. So you're in the middle of dealing with families where there's like 4 siblings, and they're all, you're just trying to
pull it all together.
Yeah, and you just get really close to people.
Yeah, it's an emotional time, and I'm starting to see a lot of that now. Probably more than I've seen in a while. I've just started to really see a lot of, the passing of the parents and the kids from out of the area, and they just want to get rid of the property, but yet there's emotional ties to the house as well. So, you know, the very cool thing about our business, I think anyway, is it is a long-term relationship.
Right.
So it's not one of those, you know, even when you were in physical therapy, you know, you had that probably 6 weeks or whatever of the therapy, but once they're fixed, they're gone. You know,
Yeah.
with real estate and with the financial side of it, I mean, the whole idea of, like for me, is I want to be their lender for life.
Right.
So whether it's their family, friends, whoever, I want them to be so pleased that they, you know me as a person, they know me as a friend and someone that really cares about them.
Exactly.
And I think that on the real estate side, there's so many realtors right now in the business, and it's, you know, it's, everyone's kind of fighting for the same deal because the inventory is different, you know, and there's still an influx of lenders and an influx of agents that probably were all fighting for the same customer, the same house,
Yes.
whatever. But I think that, you know, the most rewarding thing for me is when I could be out there hitting the street trying to drum up some new business and all that. But then you get that phone call from the person that you did a loan for 2 years ago and they remembered you, you know?
Yeah.
And you think, okay, that's kind of why I do this, you know? It's
Yeah,
always fun.
I kind of, when we first close, I kind of go through a little time period where I'm like missing them because you get used to seeing them and talking to them
Yes.
regularly.
Yep.
And it's like so great. And then suddenly it's closed and it's like, oh, I don't get to see you every week when we're going and looking at houses.
Yeah,
And
I
start
know.
to,
You kind of get a little bit of a, like a friend. It's a friendship. It
Yeah.
is. It is. If you do your job right, I think that every customer is also your friend.
Right.
You know, so, and I think you do that very well because I
thank
catch
you.
you on Facebook. I know what you're doing. I know that people are always very happy with you too. So that's
Thank you.
cool. So where do you see Ocala like going in the next couple of years?
Gosh, I mean,
Since you've grown up here, you've seen a lot of changes.
I think that the good thing is the people that are in charge of making decisions, I think have a goal in mind of maintaining some of our small town feel as we grow. I hear a lot of complaints about, oh, we're getting too big and we're going to be like Orlando. I don't think we're going to be like Orlando.
We can't be. We're just not that big.
We just, you know, I agree. I know the traffic gets a little bit tough and they've got some plans on how to reroute and try to work on some of that. I think that's probably our biggest
hindrance.
Yeah, is the traffic.
And I can tell from a personal standpoint, I mean, it's crazy right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But
I mean, yeah.
We just have so much to offer here. The people that I see moving here, they like the way that our politics are run here. They like that we are not on the coast and we're not going to be right in the front of a storm hitting us. They like that you can get anywhere in Florida. I mean, they say in Florida you're never more than 90 minutes from a beach.
Right.
Like, you know, I mean,
and I think they also like the fact that there's still land here.
Right.
You know, so they're not building or buying, you know, side by side with no lot lines or whatever. They can still get, you know, property.
Right. I mean, you take this, to us who are from here, we see these prices and we think this is outrageous. I can't believe how much this is going for. I remember when this was only this.
Right.
But still, compared to other places, we are still much more affordable.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm really into the arts too. And I'm super excited about we've got an amazing art scene going on. There's so many wonderful things happening all the time.
Yep.
If somebody says Ocala's boring and there's nothing to do, they are not trying at all.
No.
Because I am typically like on any given Friday going, oh no, I want to do this, and this.
Yep.
Which one am I going to do?
I love that you're saying that. Yeah, because that's one thing we haven't really talked about on this podcast, but there is so much going on as far as the art world, you know, just the equestrian center. There's so much that we're offering right now. That the O'Reilly Center. I mean,
they're killing it over there.
I love that place. I mean, I think I've gone to I don't know how many tribute band concerts there, but it's just wonderful. I mean, who would have thought in December I took my grandkids to see Swan Lake, and it was a Broadway performance. It was amazing, and I thought, because I've been in Ocala, Marion County since '85. I moved out for about 12 or 13 years to St. Pete. But and that was one of the things that we loved so much in St. Pete was the culture. You know, we could go to plays and do things like that. I would never think we had it here.
I
And
know.
I love it. I just can't.
And there's so much more to come. I mean, if you heard about the stuff that's going to be going over in the Northeast area,
No.
oh my goodness, there's so many really exciting things.
Really?
I actually, Ocala Main Street, I just joined their little promotions committee, and I got to go the other day and hear more about the plans they have. But over near Tuscaloosa,
Yeah.
there's a lot of really great things in the works. Have you ever been to Armature Works? Is that what it's called? Down near in Tampa. We're going to have an area sort of like that.
Oh,
there's
I know what
gonna
you're talking about. Oh,
I mean,
wow.
there's so many cool things coming, and like that whole Northeast area is going to really
Pop. Mm-hmm. Well,
there's
that's
just
good
so
because,
much good stuff happening.
Yeah. To that point, I mean, I'm still seeing so many people coming into this area, coming into I've said this before too. I think every pre-approval I do, I would say 95% of them are still from out-of-state buyers. They're still moving in
Or
here.
down south. We're getting down south coming up now too.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like they're coming from both directions.
That is true. I mean, there are a lot of people from
Yeah.
down south moving this direction.
Yeah, I've got a few right now, and they just tell me, well, it got too expensive down there. It's too crowded down there. It's so we've kind of coming from all directions, and that's why I tell people. They're like, oh, I keep waiting for the market to crash, and I'm like,
it's not crashing.
It may in some other areas of the country they're seeing some
in California
they're seeing some problems, but I really honestly feel I do market stats weekly, and I really don't see much change happening here. Our inventory is still pretty low considering what's coming.
Yep.
I don't. We're kind of leveling out. We've returned to more of a normal market. We
Yep.
were at a point where the average days on market was like 11 to 15 on any given day.
Yep.
Now we're up to like 50s and low 60s,
and that's
which is normal.
It's normal. Yeah.
But coming off of that, it feels to people like, whoa,
Yeah,
they
get nervous.
No, we're
They
just returning to normal. And I'm glad, because my poor buyers,
they were never
since I worked
yeah.
both sides, I mean, I had people that we wrote so many offers for.
Listen, I have so many people that I had pre-approvals for that are finally now just getting in from that whole COVID. I mean, I've got people that gave up, because they were doing the 5, 6, 7 contracts, and they were all being taken by cash or whatever else, and they're back in the market now. So
I had a poor FHA buyer. We had made so many offers, and some places I'd call to set up a showing, and they'd say on the first day it was listed, and they'd say, well, what's your financing? Well, she's FHA. Yeah, don't bother.
Yeah.
Don't bother coming. And I'm like, oh my goodness. But I'm standing there in a listing with her one day, and she's just crying. And I said, what's wrong? She's like, I really love this house, and I know I'm not going to get it because they're probably going to have a bunch of offers, So that was hard for us. And I would get people say, oh, you realtors must be loving this. No,
I can tell you, I can remember for the same thing for us. I mean, there were no government loans. I mean, I had all these FHA, these VA, even VA. Yeah. They weren't accepting anything besides conventional, and even the conventional would be, lost to cash so much. And I remember an agent said to me, I don't even think that there's no one that's going to accept an FHA buyer right now. So those buyers, and she goes, and and she was a listing agent. She was like, I'm not going to accept any FHA. And I said, the reality of it is when we get past this, those buyers are going to be important again. And now they're back, they're back. I mean, now the sellers are a little bit more understanding.
Yeah.
They're willing to do some concessions. They're willing to take that, I mean, if you have a pre-approval on an FHA buyer or a VA, especially VA too, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's still a pre-approved buyer.
Right.
So I think now, and to your point, why it's slowed down on the days on market, that's opened up that entire new buyers pool of people that can finally get into a house, even with concessions. I mean, I'm seeing that too.
That's kind of been my gauge as I looked at my stats each week. I would look at the closed sales for the last 24 hours, how many of them were conventional cash, that sort of thing. And as I started to see the FHA numbers FHA pop up, I'm like, okay, all right. Now we're at like 6 or 7 FHA in the last 24 hours. Okay.
And I was on a call with my managers group the other day, and from a company standpoint, where we were almost like 9% Govy loans back then. I mean, now we're up to like 28%. So I mean, you can see, and that's nationwide. So it's really starting to pick up too.
Well, and so often, even people that can qualify for a conventional loan, it's still in their best interest to go for an FHA loan. And so people were having to go for loans that they didn't, they could have maybe got a better rate if they had been able to.
And that's, and that's the other condition of our market right now is the increasing rates, that we're all dealing with. And thank goodness, because when it first started happening at the beginning of this year, I mean, everybody was in a buyer's shock, of where the rates went to. And I mean, it was like every customer was an hour conversation of, this is a short-term situation. These rates are going to come down. So, I mean, and I'm starting to see that the buyers are less and less, afraid to take the plunge because they really, that's what creates a refinance boom is when the rates go down and everybody that took out a rate at 6% or 6.5%, they're gonna refinance. So it's always a short-term fix to get them in as long as they can afford the payment and they know it's short-term.
Right.
So I think that's helping a lot. Are you seeing still a lot of cash?
Still a lot of cash. Yeah, I'd still most of the days that I check it, we're still seeing like at least half.
Yeah.
Cash probably.
Yeah, because I was going to say I thought the last time I looked at it was about 60%, which is high. It's still high, but that's the people still coming in from out of the area.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just a matter of where's your money going to make the most money, right? And so when the rates come up, if somebody can't afford to, because back then when the rates were low,
why would
people
you do
that
it?
I had that could be cash buyers, they were like, well, I'm still going to try and get a loan because my money is going to make more money somewhere else than it is if I put it into this mortgage. So now that it's come up, they're like, well, maybe I'll pull money from this and use it.
Well, I mean, who wouldn't if you have the ability? I mean, I'm still a big proponent if you haven't figured it out on loans. But at the same time, how can I argue the fact that if their investments aren't paying what they were and our rates are up? So I do see a lot of, and I've actually had clients that have started the loan process and they're going to borrow some of it. So I've never seen such low loan amounts based on, how much the purchase price is because they're going to dump a lot of cash into it.
Right.
So that's the other thing. But I mean, here's my belief in this business and even in yours is just that, you don't stop doing what you do. You stay consistent with the activities and you stay, relevant out in the market. You're gonna make it through where a lot of folks really won't. So it was just like I was telling Gabby earlier today. All of a sudden, something happened. Probably the middle of last month. I mean, I've been so busy. It's just like, what happened? And then June, everybody was saying, oh, it's a little bit slower because people are doing graduations and stuff. I'm not. It got busy again. So I'm very happy that because I think we're kind of seeing a lot of the mentality of the buyers saying, okay, I can jump in now. They've gotten past the fact the rates are higher and the sellers are more conducive to doing something for the buyers.
Exactly. And you're not going to be paying over the asking amount you used to as much. I'm still seeing that some, but not very often.
No.
That's usually like if it was price low to start with,
and that's
in
what
order to make that happen.
Yeah, they wanted the pricing war.
Yeah, we're like anywhere from 96 to 98% average. Lately for considered.
And I think our values are going to stick because of the inventory, like you were saying, being down, and also people are still buying here. They're coming here. They just want to be here.
Yeah. I will say I got slow around Christmas time, which I always do. And every year I get slow around Christmas time and I start freaking out. And Crystal's like, it's always slow this time of year. Why are you freaking out? And I'm like, I don't know. I just get anxious. And so I didn't have hardly anything happening from like November to the beginning of March. It was really slow for me. And I was starting to get anxious because I'm like, okay, I know this happens every year, but this coupled with rising rates, I don't know what to expect.
This was a tough, first quarter of the year.
And then March hit, and it was like, whoosh. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, we were calling it March Madness too. It was like, okay, thank you, Lord. And see, I've been doing this for so many years. My slowest month every year in this business is January, because we go hot and heavy. And get everybody in the houses in December, so everybody wants to get homestead, so they're all closing that month. And then January is like a ghost town, and I always do the same thing, and I freak out too, and I go, I can't even get anybody to call, and and I have people that know me really well, and they go, like Rose, and she'll go, Debbie, you've never had a good January. What are you worried? And I always say, you're right, because people are just getting over the holidays. They've probably spent too much money, and they've got, they got to pay off some debt. And then usually it's like towards the end of February, March, it starts picking back up again. And even in this environment, but again, you've got to be out there. You've got to separate yourself out there and do something different because, like I said, and we know the statistics. We have heard that there has to be a reduction in lenders and in realtors about 25% for us to sustain the business that we all have.
Oh, wow, I didn't.
Yeah, so that's a big reduction. We all, like I said, because when you are so heavy on, because everybody gets in it when it's easy, right? So there was a lot of people that got in it right at COVID because they saw what everybody was doing. But when it gets tough, I had a builder come in the other day and sit down with me, and he said, you're the only person I know that picks up their phone on the weekend. And I'm like, why?
I get that a lot from people too.
And I'm just like, why? That's the time that people are out there buying,
I know.
And even though, I do come in the office 5 days a week, if my phone rings on the weekend, and he said, that's why I'm looking for a new lender. He goes, I just can't get people to pick up the phone during the weekend, and that's when I've got a hot buyer sitting there, and I'm sitting there going, I don't get that mentality. I've never been able to get it.
I think that's the biggest complaint that I hear from people about our industry is communication.
Yeah.
I think that's every time that I meet someone that was previously working with someone else, they're like, oh, it's just so nice that you answer the phone. And I'm like, well, that seems like minimal. The bare minimum. I answered my phone, but unfortunately, that tends to be the case.
When it gets difficult or when it's not flush, and you'll and that's just a natural situation of attrition. It always happens. I've seen so many cycles where we had the boom, and then and everybody gets in it, and then we slow down and people get out of it, and that's okay because the market can only accommodate,
right?
Especially, we're going to have such a big. I think we're going to continue to have a lot of new construction going on because we have to, because we just don't have the inventory. But it's just if you just keep doing what you've always done and you don't stop doing that, you're going to be fine. Yeah. So I don't. Hang in. Yeah. You better not give up.
Oh, I'm not. I love it. I love it too much. I'm not going to.
No, it's going to be fantastic. So in 5 years, do you think we're just going to be like a bigger metropolis area, or are you thinking maybe just it'll retain its little country?
I think that we'll still be kind of a mid-sized town.
Okay.
Okay,
so we were talking a little bit before you came in, and I noticed you had a little pine cone.
Oh.
So tell me about that.
So I had these super sweet customers that I just fell in love with, and I was showing them a property that they wanted something with land, and there were a bunch of really great pine cones on this property. And I grew up out in the middle of the woods, and I would play out in Spar.
Oh my gosh.
And so I would gather pine cones, and to me, I told her, I said, oh man, I would gather the piles of pine cones and I would pretend they were my gold. Like the more pine cones I had, the richer I was, So then she got me this little gold pine cone.
That is
that was so sweet. So thank you, Jen. Love you. But yeah, so that's the kind of thing that.
Well, I mean that is an attestament to what you were saying about building relationships and friendships. So I thought I wanted to throw that in because I think that's a great story. And then the other thing that we were talking about was, and I talk to a lot of agents, and they all say the same thing about the sellers, trying to adjust to where we are in the market right now and understanding that something's not going to close or have multiple offers, or that the house may be sitting too long or whatever, and they get frustrated. But it always comes down to how it was priced initially. And so do you see that being an issue with sellers still a little bit?
A little bit. I think people still, and I understand you don't want to leave anything on the table.
No.
I get that. But that first 3 weeks on the market is the most important. It's really important to try and be priced correctly, because then once it sits, people do start to wonder, why is it sitting? What's wrong with it? That kind of thing. And we're not appreciating the way that we were. We're just kind of leveling off. So when you see, well, my neighbor sold those for this much, so I want to go a little above that, No, it's really, you've got to really be looking at the comps. Look at what's pending now.
Right.
You know, not
what
just
happened.
what's currently pending, what's just gone pending, and really pay attention to and what's active, what's your competition.
And that's what I have to attest to for you guys is that, I mean, listen to the realtors. They know what they're doing. They want that house to sell as much as you do.
Yeah.
And take the advice at whatever they're giving, because it's to their best interest to do that.
Right.
And because I wonder, and you just mentioned something I've never heard someone say before. Is it the first 3 weeks?
First 3 weeks is when you're going to get the most attention. The statistics show if you go beyond that first 3 weeks, you're probably going to be coming down in your price.
Okay, so is it better maybe to price a little lower and go for a little bit of a bidding war?
I've got one that I priced today, or that just hit the market today. It's great. And we priced it at $300. Do I think that I could have gotten more than $300? I do. I think we probably could. But people search in ranges up to $300. If you price it at $310, because it's probably worth at least $310, you're going to miss everybody that was searching up to $300. Now pricing it at $300. We may get other people go. Now we're going to get, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is only $300. I've got multiple offers. Let's do this. We listed it this morning, and I've had 3 showing requests already today.
Oh my gosh.
So I mean,
you know what you're doing.
I mean, yes, we probably could get a little bit more, but is it worth sitting there a long time and then you end up selling it for less than what you wanted?
Right, which is a big disappointment.
Yeah.
Do you want to promote that particular listing?
It's really great. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath on the southeast side of town, and it's we're going to have an open house there this weekend, actually, from 12 to 2, and it's got a new roof, new AC, new hot water heater, brand new appliances. I mean, it's beautiful.
It's on the southeast side?
Southeast side, yeah.
Very nice. That's a good price for the southeast.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah,
very good.
I think it's good.
And so a little bit personal about you. Do you have a family?
I do. I'm married, and I've got 2 grown children. They're 20 and 22, and I have my first granddaughter.
Oh!
And she turned a year in March, and she
is it like life-changing, right?
I mean, I knew I was going to love her, but my goodness, sometimes I look at her and it's like, oh, it's painful. It hurts so much. I love you so much. It hurts.
I say the same thing about my 2 granddaughters. Well, actually, I have 3, but there's such a big difference in ages. I've got 2 small ones and then one that just turned 21, if you can believe that. I can't even believe it. I can't believe I have a grandchild that's 21 years old. But yeah, but the 2 small ones, it's just like I get to be around them more than I was able to with my other 2. And they're just, I mean, the girls are just, it's just, what's her name?
The best. Kennedy.
Oh,
she's so cute.
Now, are your children local?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's very nice too. And what do they do?
One of them works at an assisted living place, and the other one is getting into waitressing, I believe, is what she's going to do for now, figuring it out. Yeah.
Oh, so 2 girls. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, that's cool. And you're married how long?
10 years next month. Yeah.
Okay. And what does your husband do?
He's great. He's in the golf business. He works for a golf grip company.
And what is he?
Jumbo Max golf grips. They're like really fat golf grips.
Okay. Does he travel?
Yeah,
he does.
Quite a bit.
So he has to travel. Yeah. Well, listen, everything that we've talked about has been so much fun, and I told you it was going to be super easy.
Yeah, this wasn't so bad. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, see? Well, and I wish you all the luck in the world, and if you guys need a great real estate agent, call Jeannine.
Thank you.
Crystal Snook Realty.
Thank you.